This is your girl Yannick Taylor, aka Priestess, hostess of Conversations with the Priestess. Here's a preview of what you may hear on Conversations with the Priestess.
We weren't meant for monogamy, let's be honest. Like, we have needs, let's be real. And communicating that, what you want, what you don't want, what sets up. Now, this drink is brown because I learned something. Since I'm older, I can't do brown liquor anymore. Also, I noticed since I started on hormone replacement there, HRT, in 2015, me and certain liquors don't match well. I don't know whether...
And I recognize that a lot of men love to be dominated by women. And that's because men are seen as these leaders, as this big alpha male dominant being. And because they're put on this pedestal of being leaders, sometimes they want to be submissive. Back when I cosplayed a Butch Queen in South Carolina around 2011, I was on Craigslist. This is when Craigslist was bumping and before they had gotten rid of the personal section. I hope you enjoyed that preview. Join me on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. for Priestess After Dark. Full video versions of the podcast can be found on patreon.com/CWT Priestess, and join me on Fridays at noon for our regular Friday post. Live, love, and be free. Smooches.
Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, anywhere you download and stream podcasts.
Now, for those who have shot days, especially us girls on estrogen, I'm going to talk and tell a little bit about my experience of what happens during and after shot day. Hit that intro. It's another Wednesday, and you know what it means. It's Priestess After Dark, where we talk about things that we don't really talk about during the day, okay? And it gets a little bit salacious. Trans sex talk right here. So if you've made it this far in the podcast, go ahead and hit that like, follow, share, and all of that good stuff, and make sure that you comment because it's about to get heated and heavy. So for starters, everything has been well with your girl. I had to take a couple of weeks to get myself together and really come up with the schedule so that I can record effectively and stream properly. But also, I needed to take time for my mental health and focus on my job. Although I make content on the regular, I still have a job. A girl still got to eat and work. So while I've been working my steady 9 to 5, I needed to really sit back and just plan some more material for you all. And here's that planned material. So within the last couple of weeks, your girl has had some changes in her gender affirming care. I started hormone replacement therapy, or HRT, back in 2015. And I initially started on the pill form of estrogen and, of course, the testosterone blocker, spironolactone. And up until around 2020, 2021, I had to go back on the pill form because, of course, I had changed insurances a couple of times, and there were some changes within the coverages for various insurance companies. And if y'all know how pharmaceuticals work in the world, especially in where I'm at, they're going to get all the money that they can. So it wasn't until a couple of weeks ago that I was able to start back on the injectable form of estrogen after, right before coming to DC in 2018. That's when I had started on the injectable form. So now that I'm back on the injectable form, it takes me back to the very first beginning of my transition, which is also when I started this podcast in like 2015, 2016. I noticed a difference in between the pill form. I could feel more so the effects of the injectable estrogen. And whenever, I take that shot of estrogen, I have an element of euphoria. I have a euphoria that I can't really explain because it's just, I know that I'm affirming myself and it makes me feel good to affirm myself. I want you to type in the comments, it feels good for me to affirm myself. So in this affirming myself, it gives me great joy, but also one of the things that happens when you're doing hormone replacement therapy. There are going to be mood swings. You may have moments to where, you're feeling good, but then all of a sudden you have a completely shift in your mood and you may feel a little agitated. You may feel a little sad, or you just may not want to be bothered. What I do under those times, I sit and process my feelings. However, I keep in mind, girl, you are taking hormones. You are undergoing hormone replacement therapy. So, make sure that you are staying in check with yourself, but also I make sure that I keep in touch with my therapist as well and those that are in my support system as I go through those mood swings. I would also recommend journaling as well when you have those mood swings, and do your best to articulate those feelings. Or if you have to do a video journal, that will help you during those times to where after you've taken your estrogen shot, or if you're taking your pill form, regardless of the form you take it in, I would jot down how you feel during those mood swings, during those times where even your appetite may be affected. One of the things that I've experienced with appetite while being on hormone replacement therapy is that I start having some odd cravings and my appetite gets very voracious. Now, before I recorded this video, I have cooked a full meal and have eaten half of that meal. I'm probably going to eat again after I finish this video, and once I get ready to start editing. I'm just going to be honest, and that's because shot day is coming up. At the time that I'm recording this video, by the time this video is posted, I will have had my shot day. And one of the oddest cravings that I've ever had, and don't judge me, one of the wildest cravings I've ever had was vanilla ice cream and pickles. I'm talking about the dill spears, like the regular dill pickles and stuff. I just had this hankering for to cut up some pickles and put it in with my vanilla ice cream. And this was this was like right before I became unhoused and I was still taking the injections. I will never forget it. I was streaming on another app and I had just taken my shot before doing my regular show at the time. And I had already Uber eaten some food, and it came like in the first 5 minutes of the show that I was doing. And I had eaten that food during the show because I'm a hungry girl. But then after I finished streaming, I get a little bit hungrier. And I ended up, I had the night before I had bought some ice cream and I had bought some pickles. I absolutely love eating pickles, have always loved eating pickles since I was a kid. At one time, I had a big jar of pickles in the house that I was eating out of. Like, wow. But this particular instance, after streaming, I went to the refrigerator and I immediately got me some pickles. I cut them bad boys up, got my ice cream out of the refrigerator and let it thaw out a little bit. And I put those pickles in there with the vanilla ice cream and I ate it like it was nothing. And it was so good. It was so stinking good. And I couldn't help myself. Now, I started back my shots a couple of weeks ago and I said, I'm going to take note of my feelings, how I feel. Within those first few days of me taking the shot, crazy appetite. But I did make sure that I at least ate halfway decent. I made sure that I at least tried to get vegetables, that I at least tried to get some type of sustenance, get all of my proteins and things in. Because me, I'm going to want to eat burgers and fries. I'm going to want to eat Popeye's chicken. I'm going to want to eat stuff that I should not really be eating at a certain time of night. And oh my goodness, like I have been craving pizza, pepperoni pizza, or supreme pizza with anchovies on it. And I love anchovies, but I don't eat them often. That's something because it's so high in sodium. I don't eat it much. Gotta protect my cholesterol. Now, with me already loving food and having odd cravings, I am now gravitating to flavors that I never thought I would eat. I am now in love with orange flavored cake. And I would drink orange soda, but I would never eat orange cake or orange ice cream because I hated orange sherbet or the orange sorbet. I did not like the texture of it. It's a texture thing for me. However, I was able to graduate over this weekend. Actually, a few weekends ago, we were at a restaurant and they had orange cake, and I absolutely loved it. And then a couple about over the weekend, went to a place here in DC. If you're ever in DC, be sure to check out Luna Hall. They have some of the best food, some of the best bubble tea, and some of the best desserts there. Y'all go check it out. So, my partner and some friends and I, we ended up getting some. I ended up getting the strawberry piece cake, and they got this orange cake. And we were sampling each other's cake, and oh my gosh, that orange cake was everything. I'm gonna make it a point this weekend. I'm gonna go down there and I'm going to get me some cake, some orange cake if they have it. I've got to have my things because I like food. Okay. I got to have some food. And that's just the tip of my odd cravings. But also with the mood swings and odd cravings, very few people will acknowledge this. And what I'm about to say, I am not trying to erase cisgender women and those who actually have cycles and menstrual cycles. However, because I'm on hormone replacement therapy and on estrogen and I'm AMAB, do your research what AMAB means. The estrogen is entering in my body, but my body is, going through the motions of sometimes having stomach cramps, sometimes I'll bloat, sometimes I'll be emotionally like vulnerable, emotionally erratic, and sometimes just plain grouchy. And then sometimes I am just very sensually charged, if you get what I'm saying. It may be once a month or it may be every now and then. But as a result, in hormone replacement therapy, my libido changes. Sometimes it's up here, sometimes it's down here, sometimes it's all over the place. And I make sure that on top of me having these changes with bloating, sometimes the mood swings, and yes, with these odd cravings and the pains, I make sure that I have a regimen for me for self care. I make sure that I have my ginger tea when I feel nausea. Because one thing, when you first start on estrogen or you experience a change in dosage of estrogen, you're going to feel the effects of that. And one of those things will be nausea or sometimes morning sickness. Again, because when you first get that dose of estrogen, your levels are at pregnancy level in that first trimester, and you're going to feel a certain type of way. However, having tools such as a good antacid or something to help with nausea or something like ginger tea will help a lot. I'll drink peppermint tea or good bay leaf tea that will help settle my stomach. Now, if you're prone to gastrointestinal problems that may be exacerbated by how we eat sometimes when we have those odd cravings, I would try eating light, like eating some vegetables or things, or just like eating a light snack, nothing too heavy, like some cereal or something to help you cope. But if I wouldn't eat anything too heavy or greasy, especially if you're experiencing nausea like that. But regardless of where you are in your transition, one way to cope with hormone replacement therapy as well is to regularly exercise. That gets the endorphins and all the hormones going, and it also keeps you in motion. Exercise helps with the mood swings. It helps sometimes with the vicissitudes of the bloating, and the bloating is uncomfortable. It is really uncomfortable. When I go through my season of bloating, I try to stay away from a lot of caffeine and sodas. I try to stay away from any foods that might make me bloat or make me gassy. I know I'm saying a lot, but this is what I do to help me because when my stomach cramps, I already have gastrointestinal problems. Um, I also have another medication that may affect my stomach sometimes, but sometimes with the estrogen and it thinking that I have certain parts that I don't have, those stomach cramps can be very crucial. And the pain, and I deal with it. I'm not going to try to put the pain on a scale, because again, I'm not trying to compare myself to anybody or to another woman or to cis people at all. I'm just stating my experience. Now, one of the other things about estrogen with certain appendages down below, it does often at times affect the strength of how firm I'm able to get. However, how I combat that, I use natural supplements, and I've talked to my doctor about me still using that special part, my princess wand, and thankfully, she was able to adjust my medication to where I could go and enjoy and have full fun down there. But another thing that I do, knowing that I'm on hormone replacement therapy and knowing that I'm an adult content creator and that I'm going to use that appendage, a lot of times I'll edge or I'll hold off on self love to make sure that I'm able to perform, especially if I'm making content or I'm going to be with my mate. And again, these are just some of the things that I experience by on taking hormone replacement therapy. Now, one thing I will advise, especially with taking a testosterone blocker combined with estrogen, it is going to change your sleep patterns a little bit. You may feel a little bit more tired during certain parts of the day. You may feel a little bit more energetic. Also, you may have an increase or decrease in appetite. Every person is different. Every trans person is different when you're taking hormone replacement therapy. And if you've made it this far in the video, I want you to leave a taco emoji below and share with me some of your experiences being on HRT. Amongst getting reacquainted with injectable estrogen, I have learned that in my journey in being an SW girl and in the world of BDS to the M, I realized that I enjoy humiliation. I don't enjoy receiving humiliation, but I like humiliating individuals. And this comes from my line of work in being a Dom. I've been doing work as a Dom for a little over a year now. It's been virtually, but I'm expanding back out into more formal settings. I'm taking my time and getting the tools that I need for me in order to make that happen. And it just so happened that I found myself indulging in this at the request of a suitor a few weeks ago when I was streaming on a specific platform. And if you want to know what platforms I do my salacious things at, go to merlinmystique.com. That's how you can find everything. And don't forget, I also have other materials on the Patreon as well. So, anyway, the young man asked for a private chat with me. I said, sure, I indulged him. And he tells me that he wanted to do a small apparatus humiliation. And he told me what he liked. He told me how to set it up. And told me how he wanted it done, what he liked being said, what words to use. And I told him what words I'm willing to use, what phrases I'm not willing to use. And we came to an agreement. First and foremost, before you indulge in a humiliation kink, whether you're the sub or Dom, there must be a conversation had about how the session is going to go. But before you even indulge, make sure you've done your research and studied other content creators and have really honed your own personality if you're going to be performing this particular area of expertise. Again, we communicated what he wanted, what he didn't want, what he liked. There were certain words. If there are certain words, certain phrases that you refuse to use, let your Dom or sub know. And if they get upset at you setting boundaries, then that is not the Dom for you. If someone can respect your boundaries, you do not have to engage because the rules are consent and consent are the rules. Then again, he and I began to indulge. I was a little bit nervous at first, but the more the session went on, the more comfortable I became with the humiliation. I was initially uncomfortable because I had to deal with my own internal ideas about kink and BDS to the M. And I understood why the humiliation kink is necessary. Hey, it's a way to work through some things, or it may be a way that you release from the stresses of life. Whatever your reason is, do it in a healthy and safe manner. And I'm glad I was able to help him because, oh my gosh, the way this sir was begging to compare my girth and size to his, and, you know, even though he had adequate, energy in that area, so to speak, it was a thrill for him and a thrill for me, and I can see myself doing that. But also that is I realize that it's a release for me as well, as someone who works in fields that you have to be very mindful at what you say to people. You can't really go off on people because number one, you need your job and your paper, but also it helps me get off um, all of the backed up anger that I was not able to properly let go of way back when. And I've learned that certain areas of that world, yes, it's a way for me to release certain parts of trauma, but also it's just allowing me to express myself in a healthy and safe manner. The more that I indulge, the more I'm going to talk about this subject. What's been a great help for me is actually reading this book called The Art of Seduction. It's a great book. I downloaded this a couple of years ago, and let me get the author's name right quick, cause y'all know I'm gonna share it with y'all. The author's name will be posted in the show notes if you want the name of that book. Um, just be sure to check the show notes. And if you've made it this far in the podcast, I want you to leave a taco emoji and comment with 5 or more words about anything that has been discussed in this podcast. Respect is the rule, and the rule is respect. And tell me if you are a sub or a dom. Please tell me um, how you found out that you are into humiliation. Live, love, and be free. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Share this as well. Love you.